Hey guys, back with another video log, and I'm Lay Norton, and she is
Holly Baxter.
So there's a new study that came out that we're really excited about.
It's a game changer, right?
Yeah, I think so. And it's actually, ironically, from the University of Tasmania in Launceston, which is where you're from.
Yeah, my hometown.
Yeah, so I remember I was like, I got to email these people. I got to talk to them.
I was like, I must know them.
Yeah, I'm looking on the paper and it says University of Tasmania. It's pretty funny. So small world. But basically, this was a study looking at diet breaks. Now, for anybody who has kind of followed the dieting world, especially us super nerds out there, there have been people who've talked about refeeding or high calorie days or carb cycling or intermittent fasting, all sorts of things that kind of break up just straight eat this the same way every day sort of diets. The idea with refeeding and carb cycling and whatnot being that maybe you get better fat loss because those higher calorie days boost your metabolism, that sort of thing. Well, this newest paper from the University of Tasmania, they actually looked at diet breaks. Now, for those of you who know me or know kind of the circle of evidence-based fitness, you know that like Eric Helms has talked about this before. And basically what they looked at was they took two groups of people and they had them either just consistently diet for 16 weeks in a caloric deficit. So they took them and they figured out what their maintenance calories was, their calculated maintenance calories.
Yep.
And they had them eat 67% of that.
Right.
Okay, so 2/3. Or they took a group of people and they had them diet for 16 weeks, but in between each 2-week diet block, they would have them
intermittents.
They would have them do a 2-week diet break. Exactly. And this diet break, they would go back up to maintenance. Now, we'll get into this a little bit more later, but I think one of the important things to note is they recalculated that maintenance each time they finished those 2-week diets.
Yeah.
Because your maintenance is going to change as you diet down. So they did accommodate for this, which I think is really smart.
Yeah, I think, look, one of the main problems is that when you are trying to diet and lose weight and then maintain that weight loss, is this metabolic adaptive process that takes place. And typically, as you're losing body fat and your body composition is changing, we have this decrease in our resting energy expenditure. So they do a really good job of kind of combating that. And yeah, I think the paper is beautifully written. I think you said yourself, I would have done that exactly like this.
No, I actually said they did better than I would have done because they thought of some stuff I didn't think of.
Yeah.
But I think what's really interesting is, so keep in mind, they both dieted for a total of 16 weeks, but the group that dieted with intermittent diet breaks, the process took 30 weeks.
Yeah, it was
because
32 weeks actually.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, no, 30 weeks because there was 7 diet breaks. So there would have been a 2-week diet on the front, break, diet, break, and then at the end was a diet. So that's why there was only 30 weeks.
Yeah.
So what they found was really interesting. They found that the group who put in the diet breaks lost almost twice as much body fat.
Yeah, 47% more, I believe. It was almost double the amount than the group that did the continuous diet period or restriction of energy.
Right. They lost more body fat, retained more lean muscle, and they had a lower instance of fat regain after the diet was over.
Yeah, so they looked at, I think it was 6 months afterwards, they went back and did the follow-up. And I think whilst both regroups actually did regain body weight, just trying to think where I was going with this.
It was much less for the group that was doing the
group
diet
that did
breaks.
the intermittent breaks actually were able to maintain far more fat loss over that period of time.
And so what you're looking at is basically they're getting a better fat loss per week dieted. Now keep in mind, they lost on a per week total basis, because you're looking at 16 weeks of continuous versus 30 weeks. They lost less total per week because they put the diet breaks in.
Yep.
However, per week dieted, per week spent in a restriction, they lost way more. Now, we think one of the mechanisms for this is, and they talked about in the paper, that when you diet, the large-scale decrease in resting energy expenditure usually happens within the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, and they actually showed that the continuous group versus the diet break group, in the first 2 weeks, there was a noticeably greater or more significant difference in their resting energy expenditure to start off with. But then coming towards the end of the study, I think it was from about week 7 onwards, they actually found that it kind of counteracted itself. You remember this section I'm referring to, right?
Yeah. Well, I think the point is that in the first 2 weeks, there's a large scale kind of movement of the body, or metabolism realizing that it's in a deficit and it's going to activate this self-defense system, right? So it activates this self-defense system, and then after that, most of the decrease in metabolic rate, it looks like, is mostly due from loss of lean body mass and fat tissue. That's what seems to impact it mostly after that first 2 week period. So the idea being that if you start dieting, you start getting those adaptations, you then throw in a diet break, if you're taking it to your true maintenance, you're not going to gain weight, but it's going to counteract some of those metabolic adaptations. And they actually showed, they had data for each diet break.
Yeah.
And in most 2 week diet breaks, the group didn't gain any weight. So if you're doing it properly, the problem becomes if you say, okay, I started dieting at, my maintenance was 3,000 calories. I've been dieting for 6 weeks. So for my diet break, I'm going to go back up to 3,000 calories. Well, 3,000 calories isn't your maintenance any longer.
No, keep in mind we are going to see some reduction in that resting energy expenditure. So we have to kind of factor that in with specific equations, I guess.
Right, exactly. And they used a very specific equation that was very specific to this particular group that I think was very interesting, because a lot of the resting energy expenditure equations out there have a lot of problems with it, and they talked about this in the paper.
Yeah.
But I think there's a few take-homes from this. Now, keep in mind, a lot of people will take this data and they will say, wow, this is the way we have to diet. Well, keep in mind that, like, let's say you're preparing for a contest, and you've got
some relevance.
and you've got 15 kilos or 35 pounds you want to lose, whatever it is. That's going to take a long time with 2 week diet breaks and 2 week restriction.
You're starting to merge on a full year of dieting.
Right, exactly. So for some people, they may prefer that shorter, intense period of dieting. Just understand that your efficiency in terms of what you're going to lose per week dieted is going to be way down. That said, I don't know if 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off is the magic number. I don't know if 67% restriction is the magic number.
It'll be interesting to see if there are some more studies that are kind of elaborating on this as to what else could be achieved.
Right. Keep in mind, this might not be the best way to diet. They might have just found like the second worst way to diet, right? We just know it's better than the continuous way.
Yeah.
But, maybe there's a 1 on, 1 off. Or maybe we can do 2 on, 1 off. Or maybe we can do, 4 on, 2 off, whatever it is. So I think that's where like the nuance is going to come in. I think it's probably going to change the way we work with clients and the way we write nutrition programming in the future.
For sure. I guess the main or the take home for me from this is that as someone that's competed and coaching bodybuilders and whatnot, our goal is to try and maintain as much lean muscle as we can, and they were clearly able to show that this style of dieting strategy maintains more lean muscle than is continuous dieting. So that was something that I thought was really, really great information. Yeah,
I mean, if you look at it, I mean, really, like, it does boil down to calories in versus calories out, but how you create that deficit and how that's implemented, I mean, the kinetics do seem to matter. And interestingly, they talked about this too. When people think about, they called it intermittent calorie restriction or intermittent diet breaks, I think it was.
Yeah.
People think of intermittent and they think of intermittent fasting, which they actually covered the paper, and they said that, intermittent fasting, basically they said it was a fine way to lose weight, but it was not metabolically advantageous towards a straight caloric restriction. That all it did was reduce the feeding window, and so people ate less calories. Interestingly, there's also actually divergent information on calorie cycling. There was a study done in rats a while back where they would do kind of the same thing, except they let the rats eat ad libitum in between diet breaks. And there was some human data in that too. And what they found was when they allowed them to eat ad libitum, which is however much they want, they actually just become hyperphagic and actually tend to regain more body fat than they lost in the first place.
Yeah, so I guess the key for this is making sure that you are in energy balance when you're doing the rest or the diet break.
Right, so keep in mind the diet break is not like, YOLO, I'm off my diet, I can eat whatever I want. It's okay, we're at maintenance, which for some people is still going to feel restrictive.
Yeah.
And we're doing this in a controlled manner. Because I think what it shows is that this other data, if you do it incorrectly, you can actually make things worse.
Yeah.
So you want to do it correctly. And I think there's a lot of good coaches out there that are going to help with this.
Yeah.
Once they can implement this stuff correctly. Obviously, I coach, she coaches. I think this is going to change the way we do things with a lot of, especially like longer term clients who are looking to have a lot of body fat to lose.
Yep.
So if you have questions about that, you guys can leave a question in the description.
Yeah.
You can visit our websites, biolane.com, hpnutrition.com.au.
Yeah, we'll put the links in for you.
Yeah, we both offer coaching, and we're going to be really looking forward to seeing what else comes out of this research, because I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. I think we're going to see a lot more in the coming years.
All right, my last question for you, because I know there's viewers out there that are probably thinking, damn, I'm already 8 weeks into a fat loss diet. What does that say for me? So, Lane, what would you say?
Yeah, I would say that you've probably had more metabolic adaptation than you would have liked based on the research data, but that doesn't mean a diet break wouldn't do you good. In fact, I don't even know if I'm going to try 2 on, 2 off. I might, but it might just be more in terms of when somebody tends to stagnate. Which I think usually is around 2-3 weeks is when we see people start to kind of hit. Maybe they don't lose any weight or whatever. Maybe that's when you start throwing in these diet breaks, right?
Well, that's actually perfect timing for me right now, because I have just embarked in a fat loss diet for like the last 15 weeks roughly. And I think I'm at a point where I can probably reverse, but maybe I'll try a week or 2 of this diet break and just see where it takes me. Can I get, some metabolic recovery and then go again for a few weeks? Yeah. I'm excited to try this.
And exactly. Maybe you can actually get leaner that way, right?
Yeah.
So I think that these things are going to be really interesting. We don't know exactly the right thing to do. It's just going to be one of those things where the more we learn, the more better we'll be able to implement it. But a lot of it just boils down to coaching. And this is why I always say science will tell you kind of what not to do. And then, coaching is kind of an art form where you learn what works for the individual person. So I think that for you people, like if you've been dieting 8 weeks, I think a 2-week diet break could still help you. It's just you're probably going to have to lower your maintenance down a little bit lower than what you would have predicted. So, again, if you guys need help with that,
contact us.
You can contact us.
That type of thing.
Yeah, we didn't just jump all over that, did we? Shameless plug. So, anyways, if you guys like this video, like the video, share the video, subscribe to us, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the description. We'll catch you next time, guys.
Thanks for watching. Ciao.
Hey guys, one thing I forgot to tell you before we finish the video was Holly and I are actually doing a camp in Miami, Florida, January 13th and 14th, okay? So we're doing a 1-day practical lifting camp on Saturday, January 13th, and then we're doing a day of seminars Sunday, January 14th, okay? Now, we're only taking 20 people for the VIP package, which is the lifting camp and the seminars, but we have unlimited seminars to sell. If you guys are interested in this, check the description below. There'll be a link. Click on that or email David at biolane.com and he can get you guys the info. I've never done a camp in Miami before. I'm really excited about it, especially because I think a lot of people have already shown interest in the colder weather states like up north. So this would be a great excuse for you guys to learn how to lift some heavy stuff, learn some science about nutrition and training, and get out of the cold weather. So check us out. Looking forward to seeing you guys there.